Hello, it's episode 139 of the Pro Synth Network show. I've just noticed I haven't had a shave, so I do apologise, but I'm not here to impress anyone. And if you didn't fancy me already, you certainly won't fancy me now with this lot on. So do apologise for that. It's the weekend, who cares? Right, it's the usual Friday night show. We had some shenanigans this week, which we'll discuss a little bit later, of course. I hope you were able to join us for what we did on Monday, and if you didn't, hope you've been able to catch up on it, because it was a really cool couple of hours. But before we get into anything, let's just do the usual stuff. Get it out of the way. If you like the show, please do hit the like button. If you don't. Comment if you like. You can either do it live in the chat over there, or down below if you're watching later on. You can stick comments in there. We try and get back to everyone as quick as we can. If you'd like to subscribe, please do smash that bell, as the kids say, and get the notifications to tell you when we're on. And of course, if you know somebody who isn't watching but would like to, do share the link around. We don't mind. We can also find us on places like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and of course right here on YouTube, where I guess most of you are watching. But we are also broadcasting live on Twitch and Twitter and Facebook, although we get the bulk of people here. But all of your comments from all of those things, they come through to us, but not everybody sees them. So it's kind of recommended, really, that you come onto YouTube. That's where that's where the cool kids hang out. So yeah, there we go. That's where you can find us. If you want to buy fantastic merchandise such as this here, please do go and visit vibrographics.co.uk and just scroll down the main page and you'll find the Pro Synth Network section, and you can order your t-shirts, your polo shirts, your hoodies, to wear at your favourite synth events, bar mitzvahs, weddings, funerals, wherever. They're trendy, they're cool, everybody wants one, and you'll get all the cool kids hanging around you if you do that. And of course we get a little bit of a kickback from that, so that's very nice. And of course, if you do want to support the channel, because we just had a massive bill in, so thank you everyone, because we were able to pay that bill and still have a few pennies left over. So thank you for that. And if you want to do that, you can donate at our PayPal, just there, links in the description below. Or of course you can use super chat, super stickers within the YouTube broadcast. And if you're watching after the event, there's the big thanks button, which is just about there somewhere. And yeah, you can do all that. So I hope you've had a fantastic week. I've been busy and having lots of fun playing with new toys. And before we get to our guest this week, who is kind of becoming a bit of a regular, we will bring in the one and the only. Let's see if he's awake yet. Let's give him a nudge, Mr. Kent Spong.
Hello.
Are you cold?
It is balls of a brass monkey in here.
Oh, well, you're not alone, I can tell you. Chris is feeling a bit chilly too. But
yeah.
Can't you just is there no heating in that room apart from the obvious, you know?
Yeah, there is, but Fiona said I can't turn the central heating on yet.
Do you always do what she tells you to?
You've seen her.
Yeah, true.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
No, I've
yeah.
just been putting a GS1 into the back of a Volvo V70.
Oh, how many have you got left now?
Just the two.
Just the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw your picture of the Jupiter 6s.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, the answer is neither of them.
I got it right. I said neither of them are working because they're broken with the huge weight of inadequacy by standing next to a Yamaha GS1.
Yeah.
I was right.
Oh, if they're in my house, they don't work.
Well,
that's why they're here.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Anyway, how are you, apart from being a bit brass monkeys? Are you okay in
actually,
general?
I've got a lot of people asking me about what that synth was in the picture I used for the show last night.
Oh, that was the AI stuff.
It's an AI picture, yeah. It doesn't exist.
No. Somebody posted those on some Facebook group, didn't they? There's a whole bunch of them. They said, I think the tag was Russian synths in Siberia or something.
Somewhere in Siberia or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah. But it just reminded me of my back garden.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you mentioned him. And sort of like, and in some ways still does actually resemble my back garden.
Well, no, it's a lot different now.
Yeah, but there's still I think there's a Jupiter 8 out there that's been out there about 3.5 months now.
Oh my word! Dear, oh dear.
Well,
Well,
clean.
yeah, I bet. I shared some pictures of your Waldorf Wave. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because somebody said, "Have you got a Waldorf Wave?" And I said, "No, I can find cheaper doorstops."
Yeah.
And I said, when they die, they die. Vis-a-vis, have a look at this.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh," as everybody is when they see that picture, as I and Ben were when we saw that in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean there's that Soundgas had got those two 80s that they want to auctioning off. One of them's all rusty and horrible. And loads of people sent me a link saying, "Oh, are you interested in buying it and maybe doing it up?" And I'm thinking, no, it'll end up here anyway. Whoever buys it, it'll come here.
Yeah.
So
this is true. Well, good to see you, mate.
Thank you,
as
sir.
always. And Ben isn't with us at the moment, but he does make his does make his apologies. They're loading the van up for the band or something. But they had to do it kind of late in the day, so he will be hopefully joining us a little bit later on.
He's robbing an off license.
Yeah, probably.
He is.
Well, you know what these Northerners are like,
Well, he likes that balaclava, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
His favourite, with ProSynth Network written across the forehead.
yeah. I wonder where they'll come.
Yeah.
Dear. Well, anyway, listen. Good to see you, mate. Let's get straight on to our guest. You saw him. You may not have seen him if you weren't watching the show that we did on Monday, the very special one. So you've already hopefully kind of familiar with this guy. But we thought we'd get him back because that was always the plan, was him to do this show, and then stuff came out, and we thought, let's get him in and do something else. So tonight we're going to sort of like just speak to him as an individual, about him and his passion for music and music technology, and we might talk a few things Sonicware. But it is from sunny Lincolnshire. It's probably dark Lincolnshire now. It's Mr. Chris Dodsworth. Welcome.
Hey, hello.
You look like you're in a similar situation with your fingerless gloves on.
Yes.
So, and I'm sat here, it's like 24 degrees in there.
It's 13 degrees Celsius in here.
Wow.
Thanks for that, Robbie.
Well, you know what? I've got all this stuff, and I haven't even got the heating on. It's weird. Anyway, have you had a good week, Chris?
Yeah, not bad at all.
Any sort of comeback from Monday's show? Have you had lots of people bugging you for stuff and lots of interest being shown?
Yeah, it's especially since the Lo-Fi 12 was announced. It's been really busy across all the social media for Sonicware. So loads of questions and suggestions and stuff.
Nice, good stuff. Yeah, well, a lot of people like that show, and it's got some really good numbers on there. So hopefully it will become a sort of a mainstay for people to come and sort of like discover these two instruments, what they can do, and we'll talk about those a little bit later on.
Cool.
But before we do, I think we've done all the stuff there. So I just want to say hello to everyone that's in the chat, because there's a whole bunch of people in there, some new names. Mind Rover, I don't believe I've seen that name there before, so welcome whoever you may be. But of course, all the usual people. I've just gone over there, and like all your comments are not showing up. I'm just seeing names, which is weird. Let me just see. Oh no, they're back. There we go. So there you go. That's great. We've got some news topics to discuss a little bit later on in the show. There's not a lot going on really. It's been a quiet week, but I suppose that's to be expected as we sort of come up to Christmas. But we've got a few things, a few software bits and bobs. In fact, apart from one thing, it's all software this week, and the hardware isn't really much to get excited about. But I guess we get weeks like that where it's like loads of stuff and then nothing. So more time to speak to our very special guest about his work and his life and his passion within music technology. Of course, we don't want to know anything else really. So I guess let's kick off then, Chris. Clearly, you're into your music tech because you've got your traditional synth lovers background behind you.
Yeah.
There. A lot of people will know you from your YouTube channel where you go under the name of Chris Lody.
Yeah.
And if you want to know where that comes from, go and watch Monday's show, because I think Chris explained the origins of that name. But you've been doing like synth demo videos and tutorials for some time. So where did it all start for you with music tech? Was it at high school? Was it before that? What got you into it all?
Yeah, it's something that people have asked me before, and the more I think about it, the sort of further back my train of thought goes. And the earliest I can take it back to is during the 80s, everything was synth music. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was just like you couldn't turn on the radio without listening to it. And I was fascinated by electronic music, like immediately from being a little kid. I don't know, 5, 6 years old, just thought it was amazing. And as I grew up, you'd hear people in the 80s saying things like, "Oh, it's all done on computers nowadays." Like offhand, like as a slight.
Yeah. Push a button, it does it all for you.
Exactly. That was the preconception, that you got a machine and you pressed the demo button and then music came out and then you were a pop star. But I, being a bit too young and a bit too naive, kind of took that completely at face value, because I had like an 8-bit computer, an Amstrad CPC that made bleepy noises, 3 channels of square waves, and I just assumed that they had that, but it was better.
Yeah.
So they had a better computer. So they just had something. I didn't really know what a synthesizer was. I was aware of the term, but I just assumed a synthesizer must be just a really nice computer. And that kind of tech was around, but then I was completely unaware of the actual reality of the situation, where you had a studio full of synths, and the home studio revolution was a long way off. So I kind of buried my head in computers for a while, thinking I can get there too by this method, and obviously it's completely wrong. But then, sort of in the meantime, I discovered I think I bought an old stylophone from a car boot sale for like £1. The brown wood effect ones that were in the 70s. Got one of those.
Yeah.
And I was playing around with that, and then I got given a Hitachi radio with a cassette player in it, and I was sort of messing around recording radio scanning stuff onto cassette and running the headphone out of the stylophone into the the mic socket on the back of the cassette deck with a ZX Spectrum cable and wondering why it sounded awful, and then couldn't work out why you couldn't record the TV with the mic stood right in front of it without it sounding bad as well. So it's just constantly experimenting with stuff, like recording the radio scanning and stuff. Now I realize it's kind of experimental music before I even knew what it was. So I was just constantly mucking around with stuff, and then I got one of those. Do you remember the 200-in-1 electronics kits with the little bendy springs and all the components? So I used to build stuff on there, and it was always the things that made noise that I found the most fascinating. Just anything that would make a horrible beeping sound. So just sort of, I don't know, it gathered over a really long time into gradually funneling me towards when the home studio revolution finally kicked off, and then I was like, oh, so that's what a synthesizer is. I think maybe the penny had dropped before that, but just being out in the middle of Lincolnshire with basically no information, trying to piece something together from 2 electronics books and some cassettes and an old computer. So my influences are a bit weird. Because of that. No, I know what you mean. I mean, when I guess I don't know how similar in age we are, but you mentioned the 80s, and obviously that was my kind of pomp. But I remember, looking at people like Howard Jones, specifically Howard Jones, I think a lot, because he was doing it all himself. And you'd see clips of him live, and he would be sort of zipping around stuff, punching a few buttons and then hitting go on something, and it would all make a noise, and it would all be in tune and working together. I'm thinking, how does he do that? And then, of course, home computers were the big thing. I was a Commodore guy, and I kept thinking, how could I make my Commodore 64 do that? And I got a piece of software called Electro Sound, which just used the 3 channels of the SID chip. And then I saw the Fairlight, and I'm like, oh, that's how they do it. This is big, and that's probably where the obsession started. That's probably where my complete misconception come from, seeing the Pet Shop Boys with the Fairlight on top of the pops going, it's a computer. It's just a computer. It's just a really good computer.
And so I knew from that moment,
concept of the anything that went into the making of the sound, just I just need a better computer.
Exactly. Because there's 2 people on the stage and they're making all that sound. It's got to be a computer. It's not backing tracks. No, not backing tracks at all. It was. I know exactly where you're coming from. So, what was your first proper synthesizer? Because we'll discount the stylophone, although I did used to tell people that was my first analog synth, because technically it's true.
It is, yeah.
But what was your first proper one?
It was a Poly 800.
Okay.
That actually my wife bought for me from Cash Generator in Boston, Lincolnshire. And she phoned me up. She's like, "There's this synth. I think it's a synth." And I was like, "What it's called?" And I said, I think I was at home. I think it's pre-smartphone. Must have been. I looked it up. I was like, "Oh yeah, get that for me. That's good." It's 30 quid. That's fantastic. When I got it home, it doesn't work properly. So like all the memories are scrambled, which was just a dead backup battery. And because I'd been messing around with electronics, I knew how to fix that.
Yeah.
And I finally got it up and running, and then one of the voices was dead. So it's just like, it's a Poly 400. And it took me, I don't know, another 5 years maybe to work out how to fix it, but I did it. It was a blown op amp. But, it just kept coming back to it going, "Oh, come on. I know I can sort this out." All it was, yes, it was just a blown op amp, which wasn't obviously letting the extra voice get to the outside. And then once I'd fixed that, I modded it. Yeah, so that was my first sort of dip of my toe in the water. And then what were we? Yeah, Novation Chaos 5 from Turnkey have gone, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Yeah, I thought so. A B stock a Chaos 5 from Turnkey that turned up, which was also broken. So I sent it back, and they sent me a brand new one for the B stock price.
Oh, nice.
So that was a result.
Yeah.
So
they're always a good supplier of good. Because did you used to get Sound on Sound magazine with the Turnkey catalogue stuck in the middle?
That's right. Yeah.
And then you just sit there and go through and look what bargains there were. Because that's where I got my first synth from, was Turnkey.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then, from that, I guess the obsession grew. Did you get, you said you kind of picked up with the home recording studio, thing, the movement that kind of came out of that. So were you then using computers for sequencing, or were you using hardware sequencers, or?
Yeah, very much so. It was sort of 90% FL Studio and an audio interface, and then just gradually started gathering bits of hardware. But like pretty much as soon as I had enough hardware to do it, mostly hardware, that's the route I went, because I just prefer the hands-on aspect. It's not even to do with the sound. I'm completely agnostic, basically, when it comes to analog versus digital in terms of sound generation, because for me, digital has its own benefits. It's just purely about being able to do that. Yeah. That's the big draw of hardware, really, for me.
So what were you doing with this music technology then? Was this just like a home-based thing that you were just noodling, or were you looking for gigs or joining bands or anything?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't really looking for. I was just mucking about on my sort of parents' landing, just making noise and just experimenting. And actually, sort of during that period, I started making some DIY synths, little mini sort of, not even really synths, noise boxes. I would describe them as. But I wanted something that would enable me to do audio rate modulation, which is something that barely any of my equipment did. None of my software did. So I want to be able to get this LFO up to audio rate and really scream. I found the best way I could do that was just by building my own circuits. There was a book which is very good called Handmade Electronic Music by Nicholas Collins. So it just taught me how to abuse gates to get square waves and run them into each other.
All right.
And then I started selling that sort of stuff on Etsy, the craft selling site. Yeah. All these sort of weird little things with coloured knobs on that make screaming noises.
Well, I mean, they seem to be all the rage, the home-built stuff. And
it's called kind of before Korg dropped the monotrons and stuff. So it was, and that kind of, we didn't put an end to it, but it just made me realise that I can't compete with that.
Well, no,
I can't make an oscillator that plays in tune. Are you kidding?
Ken, you've obviously famously with the anaglyph that we hope one day might see the light of day.
It still might happen, yeah.
Yeah, but did you ever get really into sort of like building your own synths? Because you're always, I mean, you must be surrounded by tons of components that are just waiting for another synth to come in. Were you ever tempted to build some kind of freakish Frankenstein thing of your own?
Yeah, yes. I did several sort of iterations of a little basic synthesizer with breadboard and wire hanging out all over the place.
Awesome.
And it's the sort of thing that if the audio cable slipped off the bench, it just pulled the whole thing apart. And it's the chips falling out. It's later, maybe next Christmas, I'll look at it. So yeah, I mean, when I started, I mean, my first synth was a kit, and I didn't know anything about it. I got somebody else to build it. I wouldn't have known a capacitor if it fell out of a tree on me. So,
what kit was that? Can you remember?
It was the Transcendent 2000, the old powertrain people. It took the guy 2 years to build it.
Wow.
but he wasn't a musician, so it was always out of tune. It was in scale across about, I think, 6 notes. So he just write songs in those 6 notes.
Yeah, microtonal music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I used to try and play it with the old Yamaha organ I had, and it was like, oh. Every time you would go up to an octave from bass, it was like, no. So, all that knowledge came later.
Yes. No, I can't. I don't think I'm just not that. I don't have the aptitude for that sort of thing. I'm sort of. I was useless at sort of metalwork and stuff at school. I wasn't very good with my hands, with stuff. And even today, now I've sort of spent time. I mean, I do stuff with Fairlights, but that's heavily under the guidance of somebody in Australia that says, take this thing here and put it there and do.
Yeah, but it's still technically the same thing, though, Robbie.
Well, I guess, but I'm beginning to understand.
I could point at several million people who'd go, I'm not opening that.
Yeah.
Even with an experienced person standing beside them. So
yeah.
It's all degrees.
I'm sort of getting to that point where I understand what goes on underneath and how it all connects together and fits together, and particularly with the DX1, that was kind of a learning thing for me because to have the luxury of a synthesizer that's that big and that properly made, rather than something that's crammed into a small space. It's got air to breathe around. You can see the path of electricity as it goes, comes in from the wall and goes around and does all these things, and then you kind of figure it out. But I'm still give me a soldering iron. I'm just This is why I have my mate Howard, who comes and does all my soldering stuff for me. I'll say, there you go, this is what you've got to do, see you in a week. And he does it, but he loves it because he's that way inclined. And he's telling me about, because when he did the DX1 power supply, he was talking about this component and that component and why this one wasn't doing it. And I was like, Yeah. Does it deliver power? Yes. Well, that's it.
I'm glad he took it on, because it was about that much from going in a skip. I'd had enough of it. Yeah. I really had.
Well, I think it was just like we've said. I think it was just one of those cases where probably there was lots of little things that weren't quite right, but once they didn't reveal themselves until one thing went, and then when you replaced that, then the next thing revealed itself, and then the next thing revealed itself, and so it was just a case of let's do the whole thing. But yeah,
I mean, it helps when you can concentrate on one machine.
Yes, yeah.
I don't have that luxury, I must admit, but
no.
But it's the same when you're building. It's just that one thing you're working on, so you tend to be able to do more than you think you would be able to.
Yeah.
Because you're concentrating on that one project.
Yeah. I mean, we were thinking, or Howard was thinking, that if this, what he was doing didn't work, about, getting a new power supply that was able to do these things. And he said, because of, the odd the odd voltages that were going through it, that 1.8, he says, there's not really a power supply out there that does the +5s and -5s and the 15s, and then a 1.8 as well. So we'd have to do this. And he was he was just talking to me what is gibberish, oh yeah, we could bring it down by using this. And I just hope this one works, because I don't know if that, I could sort of handle the complexities of a new one. But anyway, moving on from your synth construction days and stuff, how did all of this then manifest itself for you in terms of performance? Because I know you currently play in a band.
That's right, yeah.
So so how did that all sort of come about, playing live with technology?
It's it was never something I ever planned to do. But after I made the sort of little noise boxes and stuff, and listed a few on eBay, I ended up meeting a bass player that was very interested in what I was doing. Yeah, sorry. I recovered. No, and he came around to pick one up, and we got chatting, and he's like, "Oh, do you play?" Because he came and saw sort of all the keyboards and stuff had dumped all over the line. He's like, "Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't know." And then he was encouraging me to, and my wife's like, "Oh yeah, you'd be all right." And she was like, "Oh, I don't know. Should I?" And I'd taken that SY35 that I mentioned before we started the show out on just to a quick party to play with this newly formed band, and it was like, actually, that was really good fun. I'd learned like 2 of 5 songs and had to just improvise the rest of it without knowing any of the chord structure, which is really not a good idea.
No.
But everyone was really quite drunk and they didn't care.
Always
so
helps.
Yeah, and then I don't know, it just carried on from there.
Yeah.
And that just encouraged me to buy more gear. And we can't see it from my mic, but there's a MS-10 back there.
Oh yeah. Look at that, yeah.
With an expander on top that I made, by the way, that belonged to the guitarist, and he's like, "I got this from my old school, and I don't know how to use it. He'd borrow this," and I was like, "It's a bloody MS-10." Yeah, I'll work it out. Yeah,
I'll take that
very
piece
much.
of junk. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still, I still play with him. He plays in the band I'm currently playing, and he's always saying, "Yeah, one day you have to show me how to use the MS." I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll get around to it one day."
Just tell him it blew up or something.
Yeah, it's needs servicing, Mark. It's not ready. Yeah.
So in terms of gear, the gear that you've got now, obviously we've just shown the MS-10, and obviously you've got CS2X behind you there, which we spoke about previously.
Yeah.
But you've got some interesting stuff on the desk behind you. Is that Eurorack modular stuff? I don't know, semi-modular?
This is borrowed.
Oh, okay.
Most of this stuff. A friend brought it over because he's run out of space in his studio, and I've literally not had any chance to play with any of this, apart from the Eurorack stuff, the Neutron and Poly D, and that's a Moog.
Okay.
I've had a chance to muck around with that, but yeah, the rest of it, the electrons and things, I've not even switched them on.
No.
They're but I'm dying to dive in, but I've been busy working on the Sonicware sound design stuff, so it turned up just at the wrong time.
Yeah. What's the white thing on the lower level, sort of around your neck area?
Waldorf. Hang on, I can't read it from here.
It's like the thing is no. Further to the right. The square is like a square white thing.
Not this one.
No, a bit over to the right.
This thing.
No, to the right. Or are we?
That one.
No, below it, directly below it.
Yeah, this the Waldorf Hydra.
Right.
Kyra,
yeah, sorry.
Kyra,
yeah. Sorry, yeah, because it sort of looked odd, like it was a square box. I thought it was one of these wonderful sort of weird sequences or something.
It's sort of cut in half with some cables that are
nice.
crudely
That's some
dumped
good
on top
stuff.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got a little wasp on top of the CS
that's the
Behringer
what I
one.
take out for gigs.
Okay.
So the KS2X does keyboardy sounds, organs and electric pianos and stuff actually pretty well.
Yeah,
and some basic synth stuff, but then that obviously no memories in it or anything. You know, you're not recording any patches, and I like to be able to just dial it in live for like monosynth stuff. So it's just perfect for that, and it's a nice bright yellow marks on a black background, which is really good for being on a stage.
Right in the dark.
Unlike the Korg MS-10, which is black on black.
Yeah, not
very good in the dark.
Not good.
I used to have a little torch on a magnet that I'd stick on the front of it so that I could actually see what I was doing. Because it's like No, not a great idea.
Is that? Are they all going through? Is that one of those Zoom pedals?
Yeah, cheapy Zoom pedal.
Yeah, I keep meaning to get one of those.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, I just want something that's small because now I've got these, these Livens and a few other small, desktop bits. I thought maybe just a little effects box that I can route because I bought one of those Dud Faz's patch bays, the little desktop patch bays of 3.5mm jack things, and I have not really had a chance to properly use it. So yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, they're stereo and stereo out. They can handle a gain. Not all guitar pedals are good with line out level.
And you can. Is there a trick with the firmware and that you can get loads more models in and stuff?
Yeah, you can. You go and find the older version of their, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
it's the sort of editing software for the internals, and you can then write all the I forget all the other model Zoom pedals. There's about 4 of them. There's lots of things for bass and distortion and stuff. You don't get distortion on that. It's just reverbs and delays and choruses and that kind of thing. You can write that to the firmware, and it's pretty safe.
I think we covered it ages ago. There's a Russian guy that did a great video, step by step of how you do it. And it's not, it's not awfully difficult, but it's a really good video that shows you how to do that. Yeah, they're cool little things. So you obviously play live, but you mentioned, I think when we were talking on Monday, that you also do scoring work as well.
Yeah, a little. Again, something that just sort of grew out of my YouTube channel. I was just doing it for fun, and one day just decided to put up some stuff with sort of royalty free in the title and some bits of video just to see what would happen. And I did that I did one a week for about 2 or 3 months until I got bored, and then just carried on with my normal jams and not bothering. But then about a year later, I got contacted by a director saying he'd written a short film and he'd used all my music.
Oh, wow.
And, is that okay? And it's like, yeah, of course. And he sent me a link to the film, and it's really good. Really good.
Yeah.
Dark and really good. It's just right up my street. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. If you ever do anything in the future, let me know, and I'll write something specific for it.
Nice.
And then, went and write another short film. And I'd sort of written some music without seeing it at all, and then just on spec. And then the next one he did, I scored it properly. So it's a gradual process.
Yeah.
He sent me the footage after it was all edited together, and I wrote a proper score for it. And now we're on his 4th film, which is a feature. So it's a proper full-length feature film, and it's in the editing process.
Yeah,
all the filming's done, and it should be about January. I think I get to score it. It's been delayed quite a lot. It's one of the reasons I've finished this studio off. So I had some space to really properly experiment.
Cool.
So,
because we were talking when David Arnold was on the show, and his path into becoming one of the biggest film composers that this country's probably produced was he had a mate who was at art school who made a low budget, film, art school type film.
Yeah. And
David just wrote the music for it, and then the film did well. So when the next one came, he'd already got David, got the experience of working with him, so he just did the next one, and then that got traction. And then it was just, so those little relationships and those little sort of coincidental things can turn into big things.
That's exactly what it is. It is just about building rapport, and you can only really do that if you're putting your work out there and people get to see it.
Exactly.
Which was kind of my idea, but it went a bit better than I was expecting.
Well, good luck with that. You have to keep us informed on that one.
Yeah.
Yes,
it looks like it's going to be really good. It's going to be good fun.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, so let us know, and then we'll obviously give that a plug. Wherever we can.
Yeah.
So sort of nice little segue into your kind of film career in terms of making videos. You have your own channel, which is just called Chris Lody. I'm just going to try and bring it up on the screen here. Here we go. So if you're on YouTube, just Chris Lody Music, and you'll find this wonderful channel, which is stacked full of some really great videos, specifically if you're looking for tutorials on lots of things. But it's not just Sonicware, because you've got all sorts of other things going on in here.
Yeah.
How many videos have you got on there at the moment? There must be quite a few.
I don't know.
There's
I don't
loads. But yeah, I mean, how did that? Because isn't that how Sonicware found you? Was through your videos? Or
Yeah, it was. That's right. Eben, who used to work for Sonicware, found me through my videos, and we got talking about again SY35 because he was interested in FM and the sort of what would you call it? The waveform side of it, the sample based side of the SY35. Yeah, and he was just I shared him some of my demos and things, and he was like, "Oh, well, we could do with someone just to demo the 8-bit warps," and that's kind of how it started.
Right.
Got into messing around with that, and then the XFM came along, and they were like, "Oh, well, we need someone to design some sounds. Have you done any FM?" So I was like, "Yeah, I shared a bunch of the FM stuff that I'd done on my channel." So it's really useful to have it's a bit like a portfolio of work that you can share with people if you just constantly uploading stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing I particularly like about your videos is there's no floweriness, and I mean that in a nice. Yeah, it's just we're going to do this, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we do it. And there's no flashy stuff going. It doesn't need to be because the content is just bang on. And I've learned so much about using, particularly the live and stuff from just watching your videos. And I have them like I did for a while. I had one or two just saved on my tabs that I would then just go back to and do a little bit more each time when I had some time to go through. And they're really, really good. But that's turned into a little bit more because you're doing other things for Sonicware now. You're doing testing and develop. Well, not necessarily development, but you're certainly feeding back a lot of stuff that you find that goes into these things being developed. And obviously, it's been a very exciting time for the company in terms, especially in the last couple of weeks. I mean, we knew something was coming with the sample trek, and we were all sort of, waiting for that to happen. And then out of nowhere comes Lo-Fi 12, which has been a huge success. I mean, so many people are talking about it and doing really cool things with it. So it must be kind of really satisfying to have been there. Maybe not say from the inception, but you've helped with that.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. So out of all those live-ins, what's your favourite and why?
Oh, do you really want me to take it?
It's like picking a favourite child, but I'm going to make you do it.
It's the Lo-Fi 12. It's the new one.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. You're going to have to go buy that. No, it's not as complicated to learn as the FM that you have to learn to program on the XFM, but it's got all the XFM's 4 tracks and the dice feature and the effects, and it's just like they've really pushed that hardware. It's more adaptable, I suppose, than synthesis in a way, using samples.
Well, yeah, you
can get more styles of music out of it, and you can do a bit of basic synthesis as well. So it's kind of easy for people to understand if you put recording on it playback, rather than this operator feeds into this operator and this feedback. So it's a much simpler device for people to learn, and it's kind of really easy to explain. And it's
I want to say, because one of the accusations that is levelled at Sonicware, particularly the live-uns, is that they have a slightly deep interface. Because of the nature of the object, that there's this 4-character LED screen, so there's very little detail, and they've clearly settled on a platform with the same number of knobs and buttons, so they're kind of restricted in that way. And you've been able to kind of decipher that a lot for people. How did you find it when you first got the 8-bit warps? Were you like really scratching your head, or did that sort of come to you quite naturally and quite quickly?
Yeah, I'm just a massive nerd, so I just sort of I just went one by one across the controls and went, well, that makes sense to me. I do understand that people would struggle with some of the aspects of the interface because there's a lot of depth. It's not just like we're going to boil the synthesis down to just a couple of parameters and that's it. They've got real depth to them. I think that was a conscious choice right from the beginning with the 8-bit warts, that we're going to be a sort of mid-budget, I don't know if you call it a mid-budget machine, but something kind of like more expensive than the Volkers, but with much more power.
Yeah.
And they do really have power. It's I had to decipher the XFM before the manual was written. That was fun.
Right, jeez, yeah. I can imagine. So what do you think is the secret to their success? Because the live ones have really, they've hit the ground running, and they've got a lot of fans. Some people like all of them. Some people like specific ones much more than others. But it seems like they've really found this really nice little niche. Like you say, it's kind of a little bigger than your Volkers, your little, small little tabletop things that are sort of 100, 150. But they're not as expensive as your Digitacts and other stuff. Do you think it's because they've just hit that middle ground with a good balance of feature sets and a great price point, or is there something more to it, do you think?
I think so. I think it's just the value for money that you get. And as someone who's kind of obsessed with sound design, there's enough depth to draw me in and keep me interested. Yeah. Well, a lot of depth, really, depending on the machine. But I do think it's that. And the form factor, they're nice little things. You can sit with them on the sofa and build whole songs on them.
Yeah, battery powered speakers. Yeah. Have you ever tried connecting them all together and doing like an all live and performance?
I've done some on my YouTube channel with 3. Yeah, okay. Obviously, I believe.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, obviously not since the Load 512's been announced, because
the live and orchestra. Yeah.
I've definitely. I was thinking about sequencing all of them from the sample track.
There's a thought.
Yeah, MIDI out to all of those, and then why not all the products? Why not the LZ one?
Well, yeah, get one of those out. I've just got to interrupt the flow because we have been joined finally by our illustrious leader. How are you, Ben?
Right. I'm all right. Yeah, I'm a bit worn
chilly?
out now. Yeah, very, very chilly. I've got the radiator thing here.
I feel really awful because I'm sat here positively sweating me doodahs off.
Oh, it's really cold.
And you all three of you are like freezing cold.
It's nearly 15 degrees in here now.
Oh, you're getting there?
Yeah.
What was I, 23 and a half earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
We can't afford to put the heating on anymore, that's the thing.
No. So, anyway, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Been taking gear out of one van and putting it into another. It's always great in sub-zero temperatures.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous, eh?
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Yeah, but that's done now and all ready for Rye Slip tomorrow. Going down south. Yeah, down south.
West Rise it?
I don't know. Like is it Wheelstone FC?
Wheelstone, yeah.
Yeah.
You want some?
Yeah, that's where we're going. There.
Oh, you get to Wheelstone FC?
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell me if the Wheelstone Raider's there, please. Get a photo.
Yeah, we've played there before, and he was there then, so he'll be there. Like I'll get him to do a sound bite for the show or something.
Oh, please do. Yeah, get take a spare shirt or something.
You got no fans. Yeah,
you got no fans.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Wheelstone Raider. Yeah, you got to do that. Got to do that. And there's people all around the world going, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah. Well, me too.
Yeah. Google the Wheelstone Raider. WEALDSTONE. Wheelstone Raider. He's this guy who got caught on, like, was it a TikTok or something, like, one of those little clips at this football match. And Wheelstone are what, like, really low league football, aren't they? They're not very.
You mean.
Yeah.
I know
and I think, wasn't it Soccer AM that picked him up first up? And he just became this kind of like meme. You want some? Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Anyway, nice to see you, mate.
Great to be.
We did actually have some. There was a question. Well, no, first of all, Matt Evans, who is in the chat, I think he's back in because he said he had to go and pop. His son was calling or something. But Matt Evans, it's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Mr. Matt Evans. Yeah. There we go. Eventually. I'm not going to ask. You never ask a lady how old they are, so I'm not going to ask Matt. But I hope you've had a fantastic.
Anyway.
No, he wouldn't, and he'd lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy birthday, Matt. I hope you've had a great day, and I hope that this is a nice ending to it. Well, at least some of it. Anyway, Mr. David Serchek, thank you ever so much for your donation of $4.99 for all the Howards out there. Everybody needs a Howard. That should be one of our little taglines. Everybody needs a Howard.
Wish I had one.
Yeah, well, I can send him over. He was in Malaysia last week doing some stuff. He's back. He's back in.
Plenty for him to get on with.
Going out for what's the date? Yeah, a couple of weeks. I'm going out for dinner with him, so I'll mention. See how free he is. See if we can split his services.
Never see him again.
What else? Oh, David Serchik also says he's just subscribed to Chris's channel. So there you go.
Thank you very much.
At least another one there. Synth Addict Andy said that he learned a lot from your vids over the years. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Wilderness Music says Vestige, Roman, Park Life, Bad Things. Are these Chris's movies, the ones you scored? Yeah,
those are the ones. Yeah.
There you go. So go and watch those ones. And well, of course, you need to ask this then: can we find those online?
I don't know if they're all available. Roman is. Park Life is. I think some of them were taken down. So, but you might be able to find them somewhere. Yeah.
All right. Nice one. Cool stuff. Excellent. Right. What's the time? We've got about 10 minutes till the top of the hour, and then we'll probably cut into the news things. Guys, have you got any questions you want to ask Chris at all? Sort of end up hogging our guests.
I was actually watching a little bit of the show while I was eating my tea.
All right.
So I am up to speed with what's been going on. I was quite interested in all the retro computer stuff. That's really gets gets my interest there.
I can see the old apple on the floor down there.
Yeah.
That is? Yeah.
That's what is that one?
It's a broken one, isn't it?
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a classic. But I have got the 1984 version upstairs as well. But Lewis, me stepson, he blew it up because it's supposed to. It's actually an American machine, and it has a step-down transformer, and he didn't know, and he wanted to give it a go. Like he plugged it in, and it blew up.
Bang.
He said it was only on a few minutes, and smoke was coming out the back of it.
It's a bit like
a few minutes.
Like CS80s.
So much for that fuse.
Yeah. Slow blow.
I might need to take that to Kent now and see if he can sort it out.
Yeah, do you do home computers, Kent?
Yeah, I can throw them quite a long way now. A lot of practice.
Brilliant.
So, did you have a question?
No.
I thought you were sort of leading up to a question.
No, I was just rambling.
He just really show off his Mac.
It's difficult to tell. It's difficult to tell sometimes. No. Yeah. David's just actually mentioned in the chat. He likes the Liven name, and Wagyu was saying they never understand calling Sonicware stuff Liven, since it covers many different models. And I'm sure because Wagyu he's up on it because I think his wife is Japanese, and so is there? Do you know where the name Liven comes from?
It's just like the range, the name of the range. So Sonicware company, the range is the Livens, and then.
But is there any particular reason why Liven?
I don't know. No. I know that they're designed to be played live, so I guess that's where the live bits comes from.
Yeah,
but
could be.
Maybe it's not
some sort of like cryptic kind of reference to something.
No, I think maybe it's good hits on the old Google.
Yeah, it could be. Or down to SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I thought I was going to learn something interesting there, but never mind.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. Don't worry. Ken, did you have any questions for our guest at all?
Do you want a job?
There you go.
More than anything else.
Yeah. So actually, somebody said on, I think it was the Sample Trek Facebook page that that Kent didn't say very much on Monday, and was that because the Sample Trek really isn't something that floats your boat? I can't see that being. I can see that being the case, that it's not really your kind of thing.
Well, it kind of is, and it kind of isn't. Mainly because of the gear I've already got. anyway. So, you know, like I got the MPCX and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so, you know, when you got stuff coming out of the wazoo, I must admit, you know, I think Ty's getting one and everything. And I mean, he's got more equipment than everybody in the world put together.
Quite.
So I like the idea of because the price of it. We were talking about the price on the show. I'm going, I think I can get away with that without knowing.
It's small enough, yeah. So
Yeah. Because she was, you know, fists on hips when she found out how much the Rise 2 was. It's like, how much? You know, that kind of thing. So I'm toying with the idea, I must admit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
But I'm also in this area of I have too much stuff now.
Yeah. Define too much stuff.
There is more stuff than there is space.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
I mean, of stuff I own, never mind everybody else's gear. But I'm finding that there's certain things I'm warming to more than others. There's stuff that I bought that I thought I was going to use that a lot. I thought I was going to enjoy it, but actually I'm not. And perhaps it's time to move on. So, you know, to buy more stuff before I've cleared the decks a bit. But to be honest with you, when the show was on, I mean, you would, you know, you're talking to Chris, and he's talking about the thing, and, you know, demonstrations and all the rest of it. There wasn't a lot I could add anyway, so I quite happily sat here and listened.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that. There was, you know, no hidden message in my silence. Or anything.
No. I just think lots of people assume, given, you know, your lofty
Godliness.
nature, the amount of respect that you've, you know, clearly earned over the years, you know, that you've probably got an avid interest in everything. But I guess there's just going to be some things that really don't push your buttons.
I'm certainly interested, and I like the way it sounded and stuff. I must admit, the sample track?
Yeah.
Was like, oh, you know, that piqued interest as well. But again, I can't get it. It will kill me. It will kill me where I stand.
You mentioned the Rise 2. Is that still outstanding? Yeah, because I'm sure you would have told us if it had arrived.
Apparently, there's a good chance that the Brontosaurus will return to the Earth before this bloody thing shows up. Yeah, it's been pushed back again. They're here. They're in the UK.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Batch 2s are in the UK. They just haven't, you know, I don't know what they do with them. Sort of like sprinkle holy water on them, put them in a box, and then ship them out, or whatever it is. It's going to take another week. So I'm hoping it's here before my birthday next week.
Well, yes, indeed.
Because I've decided once I hit 60, that's it, I'm retiring. I'm just going to crawl into a dog's basket, and that's it. I'm done. No more.
How would we tell?
Well, there'll be a lot more dog hair on me than usual. There's that, obviously.
You would have thought Rowley, or whatever they're called now, you know, the company that after all of the shenanigans that they, you know, went through last time, that they really make sure they got this right. But it just seems like they're the same old. Well, no, currently anyway.
Yeah, they're suffering from the same problems that everybody else is suffering from. I'll say that they have been very prompt in letting the customers know, look, it's going to be another week, you know. Here's £100 voucher to go and get some extra sound sets for it.
Okay.
Like that, which is all well and good. And it's not like I haven't got a Rowley knocking around.
No, yeah, you've got a few.
I've got one or two, three. So, but I'm really looking forward to this Rise 2 to see what it is, the refinements that have been made, and whether there really are refinements or whether it's all, you know, smoke and mirrors and stuff.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's the subject matter for another ProSynth Network special.
Yeah, you never know.
I'll tell you that, you know, the Sonicware one that we did on Monday has gone down really, really well. I'm hearing lots of good stuff about it, and it really wasn't, you know, it wasn't like a big production, you know. I spoke to Chris like a few days before. I said, "What do you reckon?" He says, "Oh, I don't know if I can get the cameras in place." But we did it. We did it, and it worked. And I think, you know, it engaged a lot of people. So maybe that's our thing. Maybe live reviews, for want of a better phrase. Maybe that is. You suggested. I think you suggested that, Ben. That maybe we should do.
I definitely thought that there was something different in that show. You know.
Yeah. Because it engages.
You could definitely do more of that.
Yeah, because it's all very. I'm not going to single any individual synthfluencer out. That's the word of the week, isn't it?
It's a word.
Oh, yeah.
That's in the Oxford English Dictionary now.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to single any one particular one out. But what I don't like about a lot of them is that it's almost like overproduced. It's almost like I'm just going to sit here and listen to you tell me what you think of something without me being able to kind of say, you glide over something. I want to know about that. Well, in a live thing, if we do glide over something, somebody can just go into the chat and say, "Oi, tell me about that bit," and then we'll go, "Okay, we'll go back to it." So we can then answer those questions sort of like in a live environment, and it's a lot easier to do it live because there's none of this fancy, editing and creating stuff, and slickness. We don't do slickness.
No,
So,
not here, not in Britain.
Not in Britain. Never. None of that. So anyway, maybe let us know what you think, lovely viewers. If you think that we should do more of those kind of live gear reviews or software review, or whatever, just and get somebody in from the company, and if we can, and do something, we could maybe figure out a way of doing that. Also, just while it's crossing my mind, what we are hoping to do. If you remember the first show of this year, we had Mike Metley on and we did kind of our predictions. So my job in the next week or so is to go through that video and note down all the predictions that we made. And then we're going to hopefully do a show that goes through those predictions to see how right or wrong we were. So we've got a few. I don't think we're going to have any more guests this year, because there's only like 2 or 3 more. What's today? 9th, 16th, 23rd, and the 30th. So there's 4 more shows. And of course, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve will probably just be alcohol-fueled chaos, I hope.
As usual, with lots of GT racing.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll do some crazy stuff. Think about that. Think, if you're in the audience, have a think about what your favourites were over the year, because we'll do that again, I think, as well. We'll do our top 5 hardware, top 5 software.
I want to do a teardown video of the Blade Runner GS1 that's still in the front room before it goes.
Oh, we could do that.
Yes.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah.
Open it all up.
Have a look inside.
You won't believe how many processors are in it.
Ooh.
That'd be cool.
I got to about 47 and gave up counting.
Let's do that. Yeah. Was that the one that was in the shop with the Jupiter 6s?
Yeah.
Or was that the other one?
Yeah, no, that other one is gone.
Good.
So it's just the 2 down there now. The
They
Blade
made
Runner
about
one
8,
is
didn't
set up,
Yeah.
and the other one's standing up behind it. But that's the one that went with the card reader problem.
Of course, yeah. So where was the GS1 in that soundtrack? Where are we hearing that?
All over the place.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a patch on the GS1 that's downstairs. It's like the Guitar 1 and 2.
Okay.
On the 80, but it's extremely clear, but it's really big down the bottom, and it's very easy to mistake that for being a CS80 in the track, when in fact it's this puppy.
Wow.
Is it the actual one that was used on the actual?
Yeah, it's the actual one, yeah.
From Frank Ellis's studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Frankie's, yeah.
Yeah. No, that would definitely be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't get the guy on the show, but it'd be a bit smelly.
It's full of Mark Knopfler's patches now, but...
Oh, right. Well, there you go.
But...
So you do Walk of Life or something.
It took me a while to actually get what you said there. It wasn't very pleasant, the first... It ended in fluff. Yeah. It's full of fluff. Yeah.
No, that would definitely be a good one. Yeah, let's do that. Let's definitely do that.
That's the one, isn't it?
Yeah. We've got, we've got this is it. We're now into effectively what the Americans like to call the holiday season, so we can kind of let our hair down and just be a little bit, a bit wild and crazy. Indeed. Right. Okay. What's the time? Oh, it's just gone 8:00. Right. So why don't we talk about a few bits of news? I have to apologise. I only sent the guys the links to this stuff this morning, so I'm not sure how much you all kind of got through. I didn't really get a chance to look through a lot of this stuff, but let's do it. Well, this will be live and off the cuff, and it'll be open and honest, won't it? Let me just bring in let's set some of these things up first of all. Okay, well, we'll do this one first because we always like to cover these when they get released. And Spitfire Audio have had a bit of a thing about doing stuff through cassette tapes just recently, and that's now spilled over into this, which is the Cassette Synth Labs library, which is completely free, of course. There is a video. Let's have I don't want to chat with you. Go away. Let's have a quick watch of this. A little bit of an advert there, I think.
There is a collective human memory stored on unreliable recorders, where the very act of remembering can reshape the past. Moments recalled and replayed in infinite loops, becoming fragmented, distorted. This is the nature of human memory. Faulty, imperfect, and beautiful. What if you could relive a past you never knew? What if you could travel back in time through sound? Rewind your mind. Labs Cassette Synth. Just play.
There you go. Nice little trailer there. So they've been doing some stuff with cassettes. I think Alex Ball actually did a little video because they sent him one of the machines, but they've been feeding lots of things through old tapes and coming up with stuff. So they've basically taken a CS80 and put it through a unique installation of 100 cassette players and then sampled all of that. And it sounds pretty cool, to be honest. Of course, it is completely free of charge, and can complement the more paid for version, which is this Aperture Cassette Symphony, which did sound quite interesting. But any thoughts on that one, guys? You like that? Kent, let's come to you first because CS80.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that?
I spent so much money and so much time trying to make recordings that didn't sound like cassettes anymore after recording the buggers on cassettes with all the noise, the wow, the flutter and everything else. And I didn't realise how much I missed it.
Yeah.
I must admit. And I played it back and I went, oh, that's really, really crap. Oh, I love it. Because you working your way up to that silent, clear track that you always wanted when you're playing with your 17-pound Woolworths cassette deck, and doing, tape dubbing, and you get to the third tape dub and all you just got is white noise.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, you can just about listen to the music, put your ear to the speaker. And you do all this and you get, beautiful digital 24-bit recordings and all the rest of it. And then you hear this back and you go, yeah, I just love it. Yeah, I've got to use that. I've got to use it. So it's now become a feature.
Yeah.
So typical of, Spitfire Audio to go, guys, I know what we could do.
You make some money off of that.
Yeah. That's an opportunity because who would be doing that?
Yeah.
Who else would bother?
Yeah, indeed. Is this something you'd use, Chris?
Yeah, I love the labs.
Mm-hmm.
actually all the short films I've scored, I've used the labs on. Because
Nice.
it was just a great way of getting a little palette of sounds together. I'm determined not to do that in the future on the bigger productions. In fact, I'm trying to write without using any libraries at all. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, they're just great for experimenting with. It's incredible quality stuff actually that they give away for free.
Yeah,
Fair
it
play
is.
to them. There is actually a separate Labs YouTube channel that's separate to the Spitfire
That's right, yeah.
main one, and that video of which I've already watched of the cassette synth shows the process of them setting up all the personal cassette players across the room and having them all play with the speakers, and I think they capture the sound of the room as well. It's just like, yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah, it's clever stuff.
If I had the gear, I'd try that. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Ben?
Yeah, I've never heard it until now, but it sounds interesting. It sounds really nice and emotive, isn't it? It's kind of that. It's like it's saying it's evocative of older recording techniques, and with it being older technology that's recorded, it does it fits straight into some kind of, well, a lot of genres really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it'd be quite useful to a lot of people. This,
Yeah.
But I agree with what Kent's saying as well. We spent so long trying to get rid of those things. And then we get there and realise that it doesn't sound quite as good as it did with them all in.
Yeah.
Now we're bringing them back, but it is nice to have the option, isn't it? You know, you can go completely crystal clear if you want to, or sound like it's
it's
been
more
recorded on
controlled now, isn't it?
40-year-old tape.
Yeah, I mean that is as Ken said. It really is. We now have the control. You know, we didn't have a choice back then.
Yeah.
Now we have a choice, and we can make that choice as a creative choice, or we don't have to have it forced upon us, and we can
Almost like a nostalgia library.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, yeah.
Nostalgia is a big drive. Big drive.
Going back to using a 4-track cassette player fairly recently, someone brought one for me to repair, and it was just a dodgy power socket. And as a thank you, they gave me a spare one. So I have a 4-track, and I started messing around with it just as a workflow thing. I find it really interesting. It's quite focusing to be printing audio onto something physical. It's a completely different experience just sitting in front of a screen and dragging out blocks of sound, and it's
panning your tracks to bounce.
and trying to get the signal nice and hot so it doesn't bring up too much noise, or just blasting it in if you want to.
I mean, I always wanted a multi-track, Porter Studio when I was a kid, because that was the only way that I'd ever get any sort of multi-tracking done, because we didn't have the fancy computer stuff that we do today, and I never got one. And then it was about 5 years ago, somebody said, somebody's selling a Tascam 488, which is the big one.
Ooh.
And it was 60 quid or something. And I said, what's wrong with it?
Nice.
And they said, one of the channels is a little temperamental. That's it. So it arrived and was not very well packed, but it was all in one piece. And I found a blank cassette, popped it in, and found which channel was the dodgy one. And it was just like, it would work every now and again. So I just started doing stuff with the other channels, and was just horrified at how awful it sounded. But the thing that struck me was that, so it probably needed some work. It probably needed, alignments fixing and demagnetizing and cleaning of all sorts of things. But I just kept thinking, 30 odd years ago, 40 years ago, this would have been amazing. And I wouldn't have bothered about that. Just the fact that I could do what I could do with this thing. And now we're sort of like, we're so spoilt that, because it didn't sound anywhere near as good as, but yet I've got a whole bunch of plugins that I can throw across anything that will degrade the sound, or I'm getting into this bloody lo-fi 12, 12-bit sampling, and it's just like, So it's it was a
1986 all over again.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. But anyway, so if you want Spitfire Labs new library, just go to labs.spitfire.com, I think is the web address. And if you've already got the Spitfire Audio app installed, just open that up, go to the Labs tab, and there's a button there that's not installed, I think it says, and it will show you there. You just download it, and it's all free, and it comes in their their unique little interface. Fill your boots, as they say. Right, next up is another piece of software. This one, however, is a very expensive piece of software that comes with a sizable dongle, shall we say. This is the fact that Arturia have just put out MiniFreak V. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like, although if we've heard the MiniFreak, it sounds pretty much exactly like that. Anyway, we could sit and listen to this for hours, but we don't need to. You can, of course, go to Arturia's YouTube channel and seek out their MiniFreak overview, which is about 20 minutes long. But the guys from Arturia go through that and kind of talk about it. So here's the deal. The MiniFreak V is only available to those people who own the MiniFreak hardware, which is why I stupidly said at the beginning it's a very expensive plugin, because it'll cost you £599 and it requires ownership of the MiniFreak hardware. So or you can just somebody was asking if you bought a MiniFreak and got the MiniFreak V and then sold the hardware, could you keep the software? And there is, technically you can, but if the other user tries to register the MiniFreak hardware, then obviously that messes up your license, and you can only update the MiniFreak firmware using MiniFreak V. So it doesn't come up with a firmware update in their regular sort of way of doing it. So you do need
in other words.
Yeah, they've clearly thought this through.
They've tied it up, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So MiniFreak V is a one-to-one replica of the hardware in a plugin, and it works incredibly well. Let me just see if I can bring this up on the screen. What do I want to do? I want to share the screen, application window, MiniFreak V, and boom, there it is. So this is the plugin itself, and you won't be able to hear it because I haven't got the audio. Or have I got the audio routed? You hear that?
No,
yes.
no,
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anything.
By the look on Chris's face, you can hear that. So yeah, it is exactly the same. You can swap things around. You can program stuff in the software, dump it into the hardware, vice versa. Of course, everything is visualized on the plugin itself. So let me just turn the volume down a little bit there. So you can see the oscillators and the filters and the effects are all there. It's very. Somebody suggested to me, a guy called Paul Barnes said that a lot of people have been saying, is this like kind of Pigments light, or is it? Is it
like it? Yeah.
It certainly they've gone with the look and feel of Pigments. With there's this kind of animated graphic stuff, but anyway, this is essentially a software version of the hardware. It's exactly the same. Obviously, the hardware is a digital synthesizer with analog filters, so therefore MiniFreak V has digital filters. But I've been messing around, A being the hardware and the software, and seriously, I can't tell which is which. The only way I can tell is I know which thing is sounding. But if in a blind test, you would not be able to tell. It's that bang on the money. It's replicates all the the mod matrix, which is of course expanded on the MiniFreak over its previous incarnation. You've got the LFO shapers there. You've got the touch strips that obviously respond. So as you can see, just over there, they're responding as you would expect. There is a sequencer page, which I like because sequencing visually is much more my thing. So you can build your ARPs and your sequences and use all the modifications. And of course, it is a proper patch editor and library tool. So you can easily organize your sounds, and you can create your own sound banks, your backups. You can send patches, to and from, so you can maybe create some stuff on a laptop and then ping it over to the hardware when you're back connected again. So it's a really useful tool. I mean, it's not just like Polybrute Connect. For the Polybrute is just simply a librarian and editor. It doesn't do any sounds. This does. Does this make any of you want a MiniFreak more than you might have done before? Do you think this is a good idea? I was having conversations with Robin Vincent earlier this week, and he couldn't understand why they'd done this.
Yeah.
What? I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Well, who thinks it's a good idea? You do, Ben.
Go on, Ben.
Yeah.
Go on, Ben. Convince us why. Tell us why this is a good.
Well, like a synth like that, it's quite. It's a great user interface, isn't it, for a start? And it's got like various sound engines available to it. But there's, say if you're new to the whole music thing, one of the first things that really annoyed me was like only being able to use one sound on one synth,
right.
And having to multi-track things. But like sometimes, like multi-timbral synths aren't always the answer. I think this is a really good way of looking at it. You can use the synth live, do whatever you want with it, but then in the studio you can use multiple instances of the synth and do your bass lines with it, your pads with it, your leads, and without having to like commit to a recording of it. You can do that obviously with multi-tracking. You can do that, but you're committed. You can go back and edit and what have you. I just think they've not done a lot wrong for me with this. It's a great move, I think. I'd like to see more of it.
Yeah, I think the multi-timbral part of it, the fact that you can just throw half a dozen of these plugins into a DAW and now have a fully multi-timbral MiniFreak experience, has got to be one of the plus sides. What about you, Chris? What do you think?
So if you've got the MiniFreak connected, does it?
Yep.
1-to-1. Each knob control each function.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So literally everything that you do on the hardware is replicated. You can see on the. So if I go back to the screen here, and this is where it gets confused, right? So if I go back to advanced, and let's say I grab hold of the filter cutoff, as you can see, it's going there.
Yeah.
Same with the resonance. So I'm literally just grabbing those controls, and they're all pretty much laid out the same way as on the hardware.
Yeah.
So yeah, cycling envelope, as you can see, that's going on there.
So I've never had a good experience with controllers linked to software.
Right.
If you've got a controller that's completely identical to the software you're looking at, that's got to be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just kind of wish they'd also sell the plugin separately, but then I do understand.
Well, yeah.
What
I mean, also, like if you want to choose a patch and you choose it on the hardware, then there it is.
On the,
it's exactly mirrored straight away. And I think you can, up there you can disable that link if you want to,
right?
And then just re-enable it as and when, and it just reloads in the presets.
Yeah,
and
so you can choose which instance is linked and which aren't.
Absolutely.
So I'm a big fan of the MicroFreak, and I was looking at buying one of these anyway. I think this would help sell it to me.
Definitely. It's an amazing sounding synth as well. I can't get over how amazing it sounds because it's only small.
Yeah. You've got the recall.
Yeah.
And you've got the hands-on. You've got both.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds.
I think we showed on, when was it? Was it last week's show? On the, with the MicroFreak, they brought out the first one, which was the black one, and then they brought out the white one, which was, they called it the vocoder edition. Yeah. But actually, like, apart from the microphone, it was already in there. They just added it in.
Yeah.
So some clever people actually looked at the back. There's a vent to the left-hand side of the rear, and it's just like a grill. but 3 of the holes in that grill are threaded.
Oh,
They
right.
have a thread on them, so there's clearly something going to go there.
Was going. Oh, right. This is on the
On the MiniFreak.
MiniFreak. Oh, I see.
Yeah. So on the back of the grill on the MiniFreak, there are 3 of those grill holes actually
Right, I see.
threaded holes.
So they're thinking maybe there's a
going to be an
gooseneck
attachment.
mic coming for that as well. Yeah.
Either a gooseneck mic or somebody said a keytar grip. That's what I want. That's what I want. Because this would be perfect. This would be great. It's not light though. That's the thing. It's quite a heavy thing. They really have crammed a lot in there. It's very well built, but
Does it
yeah,
work
that's-
as an audio interface as well?
no, it doesn't.
Ah,
However, it does have audio in, so you can feed anything in through the hardware and process it. And MiniFreak V, you can also do the same. You can use that as an effects kind of plugin, so you can route things through that. Because the first thing I noticed when I fired up the standalone version was it was asking me for the audio inputs. So the first thing I thought was, oh, they're going to put a vocoder on this as well. But then you realise that you can actually feed any audio through that and have it processed by it. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. And I agree that, this would be lovely if it was available individually. And I think we speculated when this was first announced and they mentioned it that it will probably come maybe in, V Collection 10, or they might delay it a little longer, because you're not going to sell it now, are you? Because
No.
people, they want to sell the hardware. Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, where would the biggest margins be? Would it be in software or hardware these days?
I wonder how it's affected Korg with the wave state and the Op6? Has it affected the sales of the hardware there?
Yeah, because it took a while for them to bring out the software versions of those. But, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that, Arturia certainly, bearing that in mind, this whole duality of having a hardware or a software version. And a couple of weeks ago, it was Waldorf with their StrikeFET plugin, which is now a complete software replication of the hardware.
Yeah.
This
Korg
one
just did the microkorg finally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although
Which
we were like a little bit baffled as to why it was the microkorg and not the MS2000,
Oh,
but
yeah.
because it's the same
Good
thing.
point.
underneath,
Is it still
isn't
got the 4-voice polyphony?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I when I got the microkorg, I was flicking through the settings, and there's a skin feature. You can change the skins. They did different coloured versions.
Oh, right.
So you can choose your colour skin of that. And I thought all it's going to take is Korg to come up with an MS2000 skin,
Yeah.
and then just expose some of those functions on that, and then you've got an MS2000 as well.
That is a good point. Because didn't the MS2000 have a sequencer instead of a arpeggiator? So that would be better.
It would.
Maybe it's just for the... Well, no, it doesn't make any sense. I was going to say for the nostalgia value, but then that's true of the MS2000. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Ken? Any thoughts on? Does this make you? Oh no, you've already said you don't want to buy anything else. But has the MiniFreak tempted you at all?
Yeah, it's bringing the software out seems to raise questions. I mean, like what Ben was saying about, you can multi-track with it, which is making the plugin actually more useful than having the hardware.
True.
To the point where you go, why have I bought this? Can I just buy the plugin? But so you got this sort of weirdness going on, sort of like, it's ashtray on a motorbike kind of thing about it, or some guy trying to sell, new tyres for a lunar rover. Yeah, good luck, mate. But I love the sound of it, and I particularly like these keyboards where they sound more than they look.
Yeah.
Because you've got this little thing, it's go, like that, and you get this big sound out of it. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know, because you have to have the software with it to be able to update the hardware. And yet, it's a digital version of what you've already got, but you can do more with it as well. It's like really weird. It is really weird. Unless they change all this model further down the road, sell a couple of million, of these, and then the software's available separately. I don't know. Yeah. But
I mean,
it's like anything else in it.
Yeah.
it's a thing to do now, isn't it? You do the hardware and then you bring out a software version.
Yeah.
But normally you wait until much later.
Yeah, I mean, Korg, I can't remember how long it was. It was about a year or so, wasn't it? Before they brought out the Op6 native and the Wave State native, which I thought was a really cool idea, because at the end of the day, both of those synthesizers are running off of Raspberry Pi based boards. So it's just code, and you can do that code in a plugin. So, and they've done it, and they're great plugins. And I'm much happier buying the plugins of those than I am the keyboards. There was a comment, I think it was Jason Crouch said, why don't they sell the plugin and discount the hardware if you own it? So, you buy the plugin for 150, say, and then if you want the hardware, then you can get the synth for 350 instead of 599 or something. You can do something like that.
Yeah.
I also wonder if it's got anything to do with things like the chip shortage, where companies are there's probably more confidence in the industry now because things are slowly getting back to normal-ish. But maybe they're thinking, like a lot of people are thinking, what if this happens again? How are we going to cope, and how are we going to avoid, that massive gap of production capability? And Neil Wharton was saying in the chat, it also means that if the chip shortage stops production, they've still got the software. So now they're developing things in tandem. They have an option, and if things go belly up in one regard, there's an alternative. And if they don't go belly up, then there's going to be two sets of people that want this synth. There's a lot of people who were commenting on that video saying, I haven't got the space for the hardware, I don't really want the hardware, but I'd love this thing in software.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. But if you are, sorry, go on.
So I was going to say, does you said it's some people are saying it's like a stripped down version of Pigments. Is that just the look of the software, or does the synth sound like it's pigment related? That was difficult to get out there.
My answer, when I was asked that question this morning, my answer was, I can see why people think it, but I haven't fired. I mean, I've got Pigments. I haven't fired it up and then sat down with them next to each other. I can see why sonically they might share some commonality, because it's Arturia, and the interface has that Pigments-esque look. And that's no doubt down to the fact that Pigments has been an absolute success for them, and people love the interface on it. It's a very, very powerful synthesizer.
Oh, it is, yeah. I just wonder if if you've already got Pigments, is there any, and they did release this as software. Is there? Looks like a police app, doesn't it? This. So you've already got Pigments, and then this comes out as a software option. Is there any point in having it when you've got Pigments?
I think there's enough difference between the two, certainly, because of the way that this does it. Pigments is kind of, yes, it has that dual 3 oscillator, I can't remember now. It's been so long since I opened it up. But there's lots of different things going on with that than there is with this, but this has also lots of other different things itself. So I think there's enough differentiation there to make them both worthwhile. But I'm loving what they're doing with this Freak range, and I'm hoping that at some point further down the line there's going to be a Maxi Freak or a Mega Freak or Big Freak or of some description, where it's got a bigger keyboard and it's more more Polybrute-esque, like a proper full on. Because I think if they did a Polybrute sized version of this, it would be amazing.
Yeah,
or even combine the two, But I think they're going to keep them as separate lines. But
they could do a light edition Le Freak.
Freak. Yeah. So get Nile Rodgers to do the advertising. I who'd have thought, like that Arturia would be up there now as one of the most innovative and big selling hardware synthesizer manufacturers, let alone software. It's a remarkable kind of journey that they've been on, this kind of sort of slow rise, and now
it's thingy as well. It's good quality, isn't it? Because I've got this Keylab here, and that's really nice. It's a really nice piece of kit, and I've got the Matrix Brute as well, and you know they're both like really well built. I know that you had the first Key Lab, didn't you? And you had a couple of issues with that, but it seems as though they've really got their act together now.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I mean, I got a bit unlucky with that because they sent me the first Key Lab 61, the Mark 1, and it had this horrible keyboard that kept breaking. But apparently they addressed that fairly quickly, unbeknownst to me, because by the time I found out that they were offering free replacement keyboard mechanisms, they weren't doing it anymore. So I've just kind of boxed it up and put it. I think I've repaired about a dozen keys on that thing, all with exactly the same problem. And once they're repaired, they're fine. So I actually did think about going and just breaking all the others where they break, and then just fixing them, knowing that it would last longer. But they did address it. And then when they brought the Mark IIs out, and subsequently I think there's Mark IIIs now, they have all been way better and very highly regarded. And they do make a few odd decisions, like, you know, the legs. You remember the wooden legs?
Yeah.
I actually want a set of those now for the Polybrute, because I think it would look amazing on those legs. I've got nowhere to put it like that. It has to stay up there, but they would actually look quite nice on there. But no, they are. I mean, who'd have thunk that we would be sort of talking about Arturia? You know, 20 years ago, they were just making a handful of modelled plugins that a lot of people said, "Oh, it doesn't sound anything like the thing," you know, that we're talking about. But they're up there now, and well, I don't know if I should put this on screen, given, but Ian Cole says Arturia are stealing Korg's crown, and they are seem to be kind of rising up through the ranks. Yeah. Anyway, MiniFreak V, I think we spent enough time on that. It is available now if you are a MiniFreak hardware owner, and all you got to do is just go to the Arturia Service Center, and it will just automatically show up there because you've registered the synth with Arturia. Right, let's talk another plugin this time. This is an effects plugin from our friends at IK Multimedia. I've had a little play with this because as a drummer, this is a plugin that really, really appeals to me. And this is the Farm Stone Room Studio Reverb for IK Multimedia's T-Rex. Here we go.
Few drum sounds are more memorable than the explosive drum fill in the middle of Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight. Recorded in London in a unique stone-walled drum room and accidentally processed using the SSL console's Listen Mic compressor, it became the signature drum sound of the 80s. And while the original studio is now gone, Genesis recreated this room to the exact same specs at their personal studio at Fisher Lane Farm. IK was invited to Fisher Lane Farm to fully capture all the elements of this rare and special space with Genesis producer Nick Davis. Now, with the Farm Stone Room Studio Reverb for T-Rax, the massive drum sound that you can only get from a well-designed stone room and the right compression is just a plug-in away. This single-panel plug-in contains the main tone-shaping elements of the original space and more. On the right,
so I think you get the idea. It's a model of the stone room at the Fish Farm Genesis U, which is sadly now closed. It's no longer in operation. I know a friend of the show, Andrew Ward, managed to pick up a few bits of Tony Banks's gear from there. They've shut that whole thing down, which is sad. But they recreated this room. Now, I understood the story, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that it wasn't accidentally discovered making In the Air Tonight, that talkback mic thing, that was done through when they recorded the third Peter Gabriel album, which Phil played the drums on and got that sound, and then he kind of pinched that technique and used it on Face Value, which was a year later, I think. Wasn't Pete Gabriel 3 was 1980. Face Value was 81. So I think that came first, and that sound was, the biscuit and ball mic going through the talkback compressor or something. There's loads of stuff online. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it just gets lost in time. Anyway, as a drummer, as a huge Phil Collins fan, as somebody who absolutely loves the sound of concert toms in that sort of space, I was all over this. And unfortunately, I don't have the drums set up, but I've got Superior Drummer out, picked out a couple of MIDI loops, took all the effects off out of Superior Drummer, fed it through this, and it was lush. Really, really nice. As one of the UK's premier 80s bands, do you do In the Air Tonight, Ben?
No, we don't do it. We don't do anything like that. It's actually quite synthy, that song as well, isn't it?
It is,
so,
yeah, and
but it's a bit
78 and everything.
Yeah, we tend to do
Hardcore electro.
No, but it's like got a bit more of a new romantic kind of vibe to it, or new wave, and that's although it's a great production, and I don't actually mind the song as well. I think it's pretty good. Drum sound is legendary wherever it originated. It's still brilliant.
Yeah,
it just doesn't quite fit in, with the other stuff we're doing. But
because that sound was the big drum sound of the 80s, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, definitely.
That reverb.
Yeah. It seemed to get more exaggerated as it went on, didn't it? It was still kind of recognisable as drums at that point.
Yeah.
And then later on, it was like just cut out of a nuclear explosion or something. It was just a small segment.
Massive sound.
Just like a immense sound later on.
Yeah.
Think about like stuff Duran did and that the drum sounds were unbelievable. Oh, the Power Station as well. Yeah.
Of course. Oh God, yeah. Tony Thompson leathering the hell out of those things, wasn't he? And that always struck me as like Tony Thompson was like Chic's drummer, with all of that finesse and that groove. And I'm guessing that Power Station was just like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
I'm really going to be a proper drummer. I'm just going to thrash the hell out, and he did. And of course, they stuck a load of this kind of stuff on it. Kent, were you familiar with that story of the origin of that sound from a technical perspective? Was it, or is that just me?
Yeah, up to a point, I suppose. I'm still trying to work out what drums are. So, what are drums?
Elaborate bits of Tupperware.
Oh, okay.
That you can hit with things that aren't
you
spoons.
hit them? Oh, you
hit them. Yeah. It's very primitive, primeval. Kind of thing.
Oh, right. No, I'm a bit more up to date now. I got sample libraries. No drums though. No.
Would you use this though? I mean, because you're
Yeah, because you don't have to use it on just drums, do you?
No.
I was trying to say, yeah. Does it sound like on vocals?
Bottom line is how much?
$99.99 as an add-on. No, sorry, $79.99.
Okay.
As an add-on for T-Rax. So you got to have T-Rax. But I think T-Rax was on sale for a while, but it's not a hugely expensive thing. I don't know if you
got it.
Yeah,
I got T-Rex. So
you just go into.
Right. I can slip that under the counter without being.
If you've got credits, because whenever you buy any of these little extra things, you can exchange your credits for this as well. So.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it's about $79.99. It's really, it really is very nice. It's very simple. I like plugins that are nice. I can get that sound I want very easily, and it's got animation in it. So if you look at the, let me just bring this back on screen. So if you look at the room as it's shown on there, So let me just zoom in. You see on the back wall, there's curtains.
Yeah.
Look at that button just at the bottom right there. You press that button, and the curtains automatically go.
Wow.
Just like they did in the studio. So yeah.
Sold.
Yeah, and you can even go beyond the room size, so you can have the full room size, or you can expand on it. So it's not just
Does the room go bigger when you turn that side?
Oh. But I tell you what, I was sat there thinking, I wonder if it does after saw the curtains. I'm always a bit. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, say, what would it look like if it was 0?
0% room.
Yeah, it sounds really weird. But it's interesting. But I'm always a bit wary of plugins with moving animated graphics because we're all very conscious about our CPU cycles. So you don't want something that's or not, but you don't want something that's going to eat into your CPU cycles and give you some unwanted crackling in the background. But anyway, Chris, are you? Does this thing sort of interest you? Are you a big plug-in user, or are you mostly about the hardware?
Mix both, yeah. It's quite interesting. I didn't know that's how the drums were recorded until I watched that video. Yeah,
okay.
It looks like a room full of like stone-clad fireplaces.
Yeah, it does. It's like that. Like Coronation Street, isn't it? It's, the cladding.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just on a sort of technical perspective as to that's how they got that sound. I had no idea. Yeah. That's what so the tale goes that somebody had left the talkback mic on, and it's running through this SSL compressor, because SSL years ago did the plugin free of charge, and then they stopped doing it, and then they started doing it again, but they started charging stupid amounts of money for it. But it seems now that it's kind of like a thing, because Hugh Padgham, of course, who was the producer with Peter Gabriel on his third album, and then obviously subsequently went on to do Phil Collins stuff, was the kind of instigator of that. The biscuit and ball mic that sort of hangs at the top of the studio that was fed through this compressor. And Hugh Padgham's just done a sound library for Superior Drummer, and they've recreated that in there as well. So you don't really need to buy the fancy plugin. It's kind of pretty much everywhere, and probably not too difficult to do with if you know what you're doing. But is it like a convolution?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of convolutions out there that do the same sort of thing. There's ways. There's probably plenty of ways to skin that cat. But but T-Rax is a fantastic suite of effects plugins, and highly recommended if you haven't already got it. And you can add this to your T-Rax collection by going to IK Multimedia's custom shop application, which you should have on your computer, and $79.99 I believe UK, or you can exchange your points for it.
There's a Porter Studio plugin as well for the T-Rex thing.
There is, yeah.
If you want to go back.
Well, they did the whole tape collection, didn't they? They had a Porter Studio and a whole bunch of different reel-to-reels.
I love them. I use them all the time. I think they're that good.
They're very, very good. Very good quality. So, that's the Farm Stone Room Studio Reverb for T-Rex. If that is your thing, 80s drums. Right, what else have we got? The only bit of hardware news this week, which was most disappointing, but actually these are kind of interesting. I might actually pick one of these up, but I'm not sure. I'm still waiting to see how good Sample Trek is as an audio interface, because I want something for my laptop, so when I'm out and about I've got something. And I actually discovered that my Tascam little digital tape recorder is also a 4148 kilohertz audio interface, and it's actually pretty low latency. But I need to do take some time with Sample Trek. However, ESI, who are this German company, have just launched a couple of new, very small interfaces. Just get rid of that message there. So these are the... Oh, why won't you go away? There we go. Right. So this is the ESI Neva Duo, and there is a Neva Uno as well. And I think the clue's in the name as to the difference here. One is a 2-input, and the other one is a single input audio interface. And that's useful. You click on the picture to expand it. It opens up in a completely new window, which of course you guys can't see. So let me just zoom in this way. So here we go. So this is it's this tiny little, almost like cigarette packet sized unit with 2 combo jacks at the front with a headphone socket, and then you have gain controls for both of those. There's a headphone gain, there's a master gain, there's a 48 volt phantom power switch, there's a direct monitoring switch, and then you can switch between the inputs here as high Z or regular line inputs there. And these are retailing for, I think the 2-input one's like 85 quid, and the other one's like 70 something. That's certainly what I saw on Thomann the other day. Just cracking little tiny USB powered mixers, USB-C by the way at the back, and it just has a dual TRS output at the rear, stereo output at the rear. I mean, ideal for people, on the move, working with, mobile devices, podcasters, that kind of thing. Even just as a spare backup audio interface. It's a 24-bit 192 kilohertz interface. So I mean, it's got 24-bit 192 USB 3.1C connectors. I mean, the internal specifications on this, if you're not looking for, obviously loads of inputs and outputs, you just want an audio interface, maybe just to track a microphone or a guitar, or even just to use with your laptop and your soft synths. This is a bargain, isn't it? Or am I missing something? It's across the board compatible with all sorts, all the audio drivers and the computer platforms. It's just a really cute little thing. I just thought for 85 quid for the 2-channel one, and even if I only stick it in my rucksack and use it 3 or 4 times a year, it's a lot more convenient than using something else that's maybe not necessarily designed to be an audio interface. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, usually when I see things like this, it's like, how can I justify spending the money on this? And I run through loads of different scenarios in my head, because I like the look of it and I want it, but I can't really justify having it until I come up with a practical use, which is, I suppose, is what we all do. But with this, I just can't see any situation where me personally would need it. I just, like when I'm out live, I mean, it might be nice to have a backup, but I think for like field recording and stuff like that, I'd much rather have something like that sample track. I think that would be a lot more fun, than wiring this up to a laptop and taking that out. For me, it's just, I don't know. I don't see the point really. Big audio interfaces in the studio, and
go big or go home.
And machines that can do it all out live.
Yeah, Chris, in your little project studio, does this make sense to you, or certainly from a sound gathering, design? Going out with a little laptop or an iPad or something with one of these interfaces, just to make sure you get the best possible.
Yeah, I can definitely see the advantage, especially if it's USB powered. Just take this in a laptop and microphone it and do some field recording. I mean, I went many years with just a 2-in 2-out audio interface as my main bit of kit in the studio, and that was it. It had MIDI on the back, which probably isn't that vital nowadays. Lots of stuff has USB MIDI. Yeah, true. So I suppose you could dispense with that, and you've got a nice little bit of kit there, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. Kent, I can't see this tickling your fancy.
Actually, I want one.
Oh.
Not really any musical point to it at all, but it'd be actually a handy little tool when I'm working out on the lawn in the summer.
Yeah.
And it's handy to have as one of those little audio interfaces just to hand when you want to test the synth out, and because I can get it into the iPad Pro, and then I can Bluetooth it up to the speakers up on the shelves without having to run cables all over the bleeding place. So and at that price, go on, but 198. What?
Yeah, 190.
Yeah, I mean, my Focusrite goes, well, I'll do 48. I'm not doing any more than that, mate. And that bastard was like 500 quid.
Yeah.
So
it's even the Uno is even cheaper than I thought. It's 49 quid on Thomann.
Wow.
71 for the Duo.
Really good.
Well, there you go.
It's just an ESI. I mean, I've got an ESI MIDI interface, the M8UEX, which is brilliant. Is that they did a whole range of stuff in bright orange, which was pretty much half me sold anyway, because I love anything that's orange. but it's a 16 in and out interface, and all of the ports are intelligent, so they know exactly what you've got plugged in and whether that's a MIDI in or a MIDI out. You don't have to mess around. You can have 16 ins or 16 outs or any combination thereof. So it's got a USB hub built in, so you get 3 USB ports on the back, so you can use that for USB MIDI as well. And that wasn't stupidly expensive. It's built like a bomb shelter. It's like really well built, metal and hard and heavy and stuff. The only problem is it's just shy of the 19-inch width for a rack mount, and it doesn't have any rack ears. It would have been brilliant. They'd just given a couple of inches either side and some rack ears.
Common complaint, yeah.
Or even supplied an adapter, but no. So it kind of sits over there, and it does a really good job, and it's solid as anything.
How big is this thing?
What thing? This
unit, yeah.
Fag packet size. Cigarette packet. So for our American friends, just in case we don't pack it. So
you get
cigarette
your fags in packets.
Yeah, cigarette packet size.
Don't let Teenage Engineering hear about this.
I know.
They'll put it up for $12,000, don't they?
And make you buy their patch cables.
Yeah, exactly. You have to buy their cables.
I'm just looking at the PCI card. I didn't know anyone still did that.
Yeah, the Maya, 130.
I thought that was a thing of the past.
It went out in the 90s, didn't it?
Yeah, that's what I've got there. That's the one I've got, is the M8UEX, which... So it's a lovely thing.
Oh, that looks as though it should go in a rack now.
It should. It's just shy of being, rack width and doesn't have an adapter kit or anything. It would have looked brilliant in the rack. But yeah, they make really solid bits of kit. They're a very good company. They don't have a massive range of stuff, but what they do is really good. And I just thought, for the price, those two little interfaces with the quality, 24192. I'd like to, just stick something, like a full-on, like BBC Symphony Orchestra song, or piece of music with lots of multi-tracks of BBC SO going through it, just to see how well it handles it. But I can't see it being terrible at all. But yeah, interesting little thing, and hopefully, if one of us picks one of those up, we'll be able to give it a bit more of a thorough going over. But there you go, ESI Neva, I don't know, Uno and Duo, available now for stupidly little money, 49.71 quid. That's just at Thomann. I'm sure they're available in other places too. So yeah, that was the only kind of piece of decent hardware news, and that's I was pushing it a bit. We're coming up. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I did promise Mr. Brooks and Ms. Griffin that I would share this with everyone. Now, don't forget, it's Bandcamp Friday today, and that's the day where Bandcamp give 100% of all sales to the artist. So please do go and buy this today. But this is the new Hardware Jams compilation by our friends Andrew Brooks and Grace Griffin. Let's have a quick listen to this. Let me just line this up properly, because I was listening earlier. Here we go. There you go. It's available on Bandcamp now. So this is Andy Brooks and Grace Griffin, who convene every now and again. I think it's generally around Grace's place. And Andy brings a shed full of modular and other bits and bobs, and they just hook it up and jam, basically, with their hardware. It's the clues in the title. But you can buy this stuff, of course, as it said in the trailer there, from their Bandcamp page, which I might not have actually got the link up there. Let me just find that for you. That's so professional of me, isn't it? It's basically Andy and Grace .bandcamp.com, I believe. That's the name that I'm typing. Oh, there it is. I did have it, but I just didn't stick it in. Come on. Oh, now my internet's going slow. But yeah, you can pick that album up now. It is pay what you want, so you don't, there is no sort of like minimum fee of any description at all. You can pay them as much or as little, but I strongly advise you pay them as much as possible. And of course, Bandcamp Friday today means that anything you buy on Bandcamp, they get 100% of the earnings. And yeah, very good it is indeed too. My computer now doesn't want to find Andy and Grace, which is most off. Oh, here it is. Look, as soon as I do that, and then yeah, here we go. Let's throw this up on the screen so you all know what you're looking for. No, you're not gonna do this, are you? It's really technology today. Right, here we go.
Hey.
There it is. Yay! We get there in the end. So there is a volume 1 as well. So why don't you pick up both? That would be nice. But yeah, volume 2 is literally out today. It's got 9 tracks on it, all of a very reasonable length. Ooh, it's 15 minutes long there. So yeah, lots of stuff from our very own Andy and Grace. You can pick that up, buy what you want, or pay what you want, but I do suggest you pay them a fair amount of cash, representative of the effort that went in there. I'm just going to hit the follow button there because I need to follow that, and I shall be picking that up a little bit later on. But yeah, both those albums, I did promise I would plug them for them, so there you go, promise delivered. Please everyone go out and buy that. It's all good fun. There we go. That's a show, gentlemen. We are almost at the top of the hour. There's a bottle of wine with my name on it downstairs, and a new series of Slow Horses on Apple TV that I'm going to be watching later. Guys,
I've just finished 1866. Sorry,
1899. Yeah,
Very good.
Is that
Really
good?
enjoyed that.
It's awesome.
It's absolutely not
yeah.
what you expect.
No,
I
it's
can't
really,
feel
really
my
good.
legs.
Yeah.
Is that on Netflix?
You're just waiting for the Harry and Meghan thing, aren't you? All right. Well, look, we need to send the old people downstairs where they.
I'll go
So
get myself a blanket and a hot.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you ever so much for doing 2 shows in the space of a week. That's fantastic. I don't know if we've done that before. You might be the first. But thank you ever so much. Thank you for Monday, and thank you for today. What's coming up? Can we expect some more tutorials on Lo-Fi 12 and Sample Trek and stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know when, but they will be coming. I do believe I forgot to mention the fact that Sonicware gave me some feedback on the the request that people made. Let's leave it right to the end of the show. They didn't have time to go through everything in the request list, so they can't give feedback on everything, but they have already implemented some of the suggestions, including the metronome being accessible from the tempo screen on the sample track, and they are very grateful for everyone's suggestions and feedback.
Brilliant.
So they're really keen to get people to send in suggestions and feedback and stuff. They're not dismissing everything, so that's good.
No. And so a new firmware came out about 2 days ago, wasn't it? And
that's right. Yeah.
That was on my list of to get to the metronome was just a pain in the ass. Now it's just it's like there, and you can mess around with it. I need a metronome, so
and that was just a direct user request, and they thought that works.
And they figured, because there was a bit of an issue with connectivity between particularly Macs and the sample track. That's all fixed now. I can confirm on old and new OSs. There's a few other little things, but yeah, it seems like they're on it. And what little things are there are being picked up and fixed, and new ideas are being implemented. That's really cool.
A few other things from the list I submitted that is in the works that I can't give any specifics about at the moment. But they're very,
if people want to keep up with that stuff, they can always join the Sonicware PPS Facebook group, of which you're a moderator.
That's right.
So I guess that you'll be feeding that information back if they don't do it themselves. So that's great. And of course, we can expect some more videos from you on that and the Lo-Fi 12, which is just a fantastically cool little bit of kit. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoying that. Anything else coming up in your world, Chris, that we might need to know about? Or
no, I'm looking forward to not having quite so much to do.
Just winding down for Christmas for the end of the year. Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Well, look, thank you ever so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Do come back soon. We'll keep in touch, obviously. And fantastic. Thank you very much. Chris Dodsworth, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Benjamin, are you gigging? You must be, because you've been loading your van up, so you must have a gig this weekend.
Yeah, it's the Rise Slip one.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, Rise Slip. Yeah, so that's...
Thing. And then we've got to get the gear out of the hire van back into our van when it's fixed. This is another pain.
Oh, it's the van. Your van's broken down. That's why you had to do it.
Our van's an old heap. It's like.
Was that the one you came down to Kent in?
No, that's my van. That's not a heap.
Why can't you use your van then?
Because that's a luxury vehicle. That
I was going to say that's a pretty swish van.
Yeah, you can't be putting. Well, half of the band's gear is in it at the minute, but I don't. Yeah,
it's a top of the range Transit. I'll have you know.
It's a transporter. It's a Volkswagen transporter. How dare you?
Thunderbird 2. She painted green.
Yeah. All right, so you got gig in Rise Up. So is that sold out? Is it private gig or?
I think it's sold out.
Okay.
It's something that they put on every year, and it usually sells out. Even with the old band, we've been going down there doing this for about 10 years or something.
Nice. So good stuff.
It's only once a year, and after the drive, I'm glad.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trek. Well, safe journey, mate. Hopefully it won't be too foggy or anything. And have a good gig.
Thank you.
Ben Simpson, everyone. Mr. Spong, apart from going to warm your cockles downstairs, anything of interest coming in the next week or so?
How long have you got?
Oh, well.
No,
still no sign of the CS80 though.
No, it's still lost.
That's good.
No, last night after the show, the dogs were playing on the bed, and Nelly got this like stringy chew toy, and she's on the bed chewing it, num 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 num, and suddenly I hear crunch, 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 and under the bedclothes where she was chewing her chew toy was my iPad Pro.
No.
Yep, right through the Retina screen. Oh. So I got to buy a new Retina screen. So I bought one from this place, or I tried to buy one from this place. It's £200, a new digitizer with it, and the tools to obviously take it all apart and swap it all over. Fine. So I go, yes, buy now, and all that sort of thing. He goes, yeah. He goes, now check your Barclays app to confirm the payment. I mean, that's on the iPad. And so it begins again, like I had with the Sony, with the PlayStation this week.
Oh no!
Yeah, so it's oh my god. So so I had to do it as a guest or something, and then type everything in and all this. Oh, so we'll see. They reckon it should be here Monday.
Oh my word!
I'll get me iPad Pro back. I didn't realise I relied on it so much for everything.
Yeah. Yes, you don't realise until you haven't got it. Yeah.
Listen, right down to listening to audiobooks late at night to go to sleep to.
Okay, yeah.
Even that. So last night I'm there wide awake going... Tell yourself a story. Once upon a time. Yeah, do you know what? It's ridiculous.
Oh dear. Oh well.
Yeah.
Live and learn, as they say.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you can stay off the bed. I know that much.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hopefully that all turns up, and hopefully your Rolly will turn up as well, and maybe next week will be a nice week.
Okay.
Kent Spong, everyone.
Where? Who?
I'm hoping. I don't know if it will or not, because obviously there's been a strike, a Royal Mail strike for the last 2 days, and then like a couple of days before that as well. I was hoping to have another couple of live-uns turn up, but according to the tracking app, they're still in the network somewhere. But yeah, you never know. So yeah, I mean that and a whole bunch of other stuff. I bought a whole bunch of vinyl because it was Record Store Day, Black Friday, last Friday, and my local record store could only get in like a few things, and there was a few other bits I managed to find online, and they're all just like, I've ordered them and they've all been dispatched, but they've been sat in a sorting office somewhere, so I have no idea. And I've got medical equipment that I'm waiting for as well for my CPAP machine. So yeah, Posty needs to get a move on, but yeah.
I bet that's how my Rolly's coming.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. But no, I'm going to spend the weekend because I think my daughter's working and my wife's then going to town, so I have a bit of quiet time, and I'm going to sit down. I'll be watching, whatever show like Ramsey will be on tomorrow at 1, I think. But I'm going to be sitting down and playing with my sample track and learning a bit. I'll have Chris's video, sort of like pause, stop, pause, play, pause, and then just do it. But I was messing around with it the other day, and we have connected WIDI, so it's now WIDI enabled, so I can control it from a keyboard somewhere else.
That's it.
But these pads are really good, aren't they? They're really good little pads.
Dead sensitive.
Yeah, and I silly thing, but I love the way that when you go into the piano roll mode with an instrument, that it illuminates the lights in the shape of a traditional Western keyboard.
Yeah.
It dims so it's like, it doesn't look like a keyboard. Oh, now it does look like it's just clever. I like little things like that. So yeah, I'm going to be learning a bit more about using that, and maybe even the other one as well, whilst waiting for the postman to call. But there you go. That's a show. Thanks ever so much to everyone. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to Ben. Thanks to Kent. And thank you to everyone in the chat. You've all been absolutely amazing. And before I forget, we did have another donation from Too Many Knobs, which I love. I love that name. You only realise what it is when you say it. You look at it, you just... Too many, $20. Thank you ever so much. Really, really do appreciate that. And say all of your donations go into the fund that helps keep this channel going. And we paid the big bill of the year the other day, and so we're super grateful that we don't have to worry about that, and we can keep on doing. So we're here for another year, ladies and germs. You're not getting rid of us that easily. So thank you to everyone that has donated today or has donated. We appreciate them all, and hopefully next year we'll be able to bring you some new cool stuff because you've enabled us to do that. So thank you to everyone in the chat. You've all been absolutely amazing. Another one just popped in. Thank you for 10 chuffs. Yeah, 10 chuffs from Wagyu. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Really do appreciate it. Don't forget Ramsey tomorrow at 1 o'clock on the YouTubes. I think Jamie's back next week because he took a week off, and I think Dom will be back on Sunday as well, so don't forget those two guys. And of course Nick on Wednesday with Sonic State, and there's loads of synth related stuff coming your way, and we're going to keep going all the way through Christmas and New Year as well. So look forward to all of that. We'll be back same time, same place next week. We don't have a guest lined up. You never know. We might find someone lurking around the gutters wanting to come on the show. If not, it'll just be the three of us as usual, unless we can persuade somebody else to come in. But we'll hopefully have some news to talk about. Let's see if we can get in on. Yeah, well, we keep working at it, but... Yeah, you never know. But yeah, we'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, have a fantastic weekend. Look after yourselves. And we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.